allegedly in her senior year of high school. She will be 19 in a couple of months and has been receiving special education services through this district since she was 3 years old. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have done a couple of presentations to some classes at the college over the last year and a half related to my family's journey through special education in this district. And I would bring to everyone's attention, my daughter has been served by no fewer than 65 people who have been employees of this school district in the 16 years, nearly 16 years that she's been receiving services. 5 school psychologists, 13 speech and language pathologists, several of whom are here, 2 physical therapists, 4 occupational therapists, at least 10 special education teachers, 12 regular education teachers, 3 adaptive PE teachers, a minimum of 9 classroom aides. I'm sure I've left some off of my list, and at least 7 principals, several of whom are also here. Our journey has been challenging. I've continually been disheartened by the challenges around advocating for my daughter, and my heart has broken over the many of her classmates who do not have advocates, who do not have parents who are able to come or who choose to come on curriculum nights. Lots of surprising barriers and obstacles that I think have to do with institutional realities. Bureaucracy is a piece of that. So I'm very interested to hear what is said tonight. I appreciate opportunities that I've had to meet with Dr. McHenry and Lori about 9 months ago. They gave me an hour and a half of their time. Thank you. And to the board members, thank you for all that you've done to support my daughter's journey to this point. And I wish it were just all glowing. And I would say, too, that the contrast has been striking. Her younger brother, my second child, is 16 months younger than she is, and he's been along the path that I took through this district, the AP courses, and that has really been seamless. And the disparity in the amount of advocacy that has had to happen for my daughter as compared to him has been frustrating and challenging, and boy, would I love to help make it better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time? We'll move on then and go right on to student reps. And LECS. Rosie. Hey, how are you?
Hi. So the Welcoming Allies and Mentors Committee presented to educators of the region about their program in helping to encourage a nice school environment and to eliminate bullying within our school. That happened recently. The middle school drama project presented their play that they've been working on, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I heard it was well attended and very well done and a very fun performance. And the promotion by exhibition thing that's been happening, people have been trying to make happen, is in progress, and that's going to serve as a way to help middle schoolers to graduate by this using similar standards that high schoolers graduate by exhibition, and that's something that we are very proud of as a school and we're working towards for the middle school.
As we've been mentioning the last couple of meetings, senior team presentations are starting up now. My senior team just presented, I guess it was last week, and then we actually held a meeting, a gathering of students outside of school just to discuss issues we thought were important in the community, and that went very well. We had a couple kids from Ithaca High School, one student from TC3, and several students from ACS, and so I was really happy with how that went. And other senior teams are wrapping up now and are presenting as well. Seniors are now beginning to work on their individual projects, which they also have to complete to graduate. Proposals are being submitted for those, and those need to be completed by the end of this second semester. And our site-based council meeting is on Thursday, where we will be primarily working on the school development plan. We're hoping we can finish that up because it has been in the works for quite a while now. That's all.
Pretty good. Great. Thanks. Ithaca High. We are in the middle of our second week of the second semester, so winter sports are coming to an end and spring sports will be starting up in 2 weeks. So students need to get their physicals in. The mid-year reports for the second semester have been sent out to parents. And the second lecture series for the IHS science classes will be on the 13th at 6:30 p.m. in H Courtyard. The presentation is going to be by an IC professor on how recommender systems are being built, such as Netflix, Pandora, and Google.
Picture it. Saturday night, students from every guild and every group gathered at the magnificent building we call the Museum of the Earth. That's right, winter formal happened. Some have marginalized this as simply a dance, but I say it was a classy affair of epic proportions. Students wore gorgeous gowns, superb suits, and nice shoes. They stepped to the tune of Macklemore and other top 40 musicians, as well as snacked on tiny confections. It was a wonderful time, had by all, and yet again a time filled with general merriment. But let's talk about the statistics. More people went to winter formal than they did last year, and more money was raised for winter formal than was last year. This money will go to students who wouldn't normally afford the senior trip, which I'm told is an overnight trip. So truly an awesome thing that money was raised for. The young scientists of Ithaca High School's Science Olympiad went to Binghamton University to compete in a competition, and they placed fourth, that's right, fourth out of 15 schools, and took first place in 3 different categories. Congratulations are in order. Ithaca High School's Key Club is selling carnations, an event that has become a pseudo-cultural activity tradition at Ithaca High School, something I had the opportunity of heading up 2 years ago. But why, one may ask, is this occurring? Because St. Valentine's Day, a big deal for some, is on Friday. And Member Maxwell's sweater is very appropriate.
My earrings.
Poet Ted Kuzer said Valentine's Day is the poet's holiday. And he is right. That's all I have.
Nicely done, Connor. How many kids showed up to winter?
About 300. Oh, that's good.
Just to get an idea, that's great. PRI is an interesting event. And it was cold, but everybody got through it, so it sounds great. Thank you, Connor. Go ahead.
I hope you appreciate the conversational tone.
As I said, nicely done, Connor. I appreciate that, being able to look at you as we talk, so that's great. And any other board responses other than complimenting Connor?
I think we should compliment them all. They do a good
Well,
job.
exactly.
One, I feel privileged to sit next to Member Maxwell in her beautiful sweater, so I didn't appreciate that fully beforehand. I also had the privilege of attending the LACS middle school production of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and I have to say it was one of the more lively renditions I've seen in quite some time. So to the folks who helped put it together, that was an enjoyable evening. So good job and kudos.
Was it real chocolate or?
Some real golden tickets, I can tell you that.
Okay, all right. That's excellent. So anything else? We'll move on and consent agenda.
We'll move the consent as presented.
I'll second.
Any questions from you, Max?
No.
Anyone else? Is that it?
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Not much there?
Pretty short.
Yeah, exactly. Well, very good. With no other comments, all in favor? That's everyone who is here right now. Mine is Chris Malcolm and Eldred, who is now in the room. So, Dr. Brown, on to superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I'll be brief with one informational item. Well, first, thank you for all the educators who are here tonight to help share highlights and information about the special ed improvement plan. Thank you. Secondly, one informational item, we will be doing a site-level, building-based climate survey in the coming weeks. We'll be looking at our homepage, and we'll be sending out emails. We'll have hard copies in offices, but we're looking to gather data on perceptions on how well we're doing by building. So that information, that survey will be going out to folks. We hope to launch on February 25th. And if we have everything in place, it should go out there. So just wanted to update folks on that piece as we look to be strategic with our surveying efforts in the district.
How are you defining climate?
I've been kind of cold a lot. That's probably not what you're talking about.
We'll be asking questions on folks' perceptions on leadership, cleanliness, morale, professional development, and how it's tied to the building and the vision and mission. So a combination of all the things we talk about, we'll be gathering folks' perceptions on how well we're doing.
Okay.
Thank you. That was just it.
We're just, well, I think we do want to get on to the main item of the night, and for good reason. So, Dr. Brown, shall we get on to school district business? And
while there are many folks in the room, I'm going to invite Dr. Bruce Jowie to the stage alone to begin.
And that item is the continuous improvement plan for special education within the ICSD. So it's a big topic. It's one that we've addressed earlier, but well, in our Dropbox is information from 2012 or 2011, and so there's much to discuss. And so thank you, Dr. Lori, for being here.
Thank you for having me here. It's been an exciting year for me here in the district, and it's been an exciting few months in preparation to reflect on our practices that have occurred in the district in the last 2 years, to give you an update on this very important strategic plan. It is called the Special Education Continuous Improvement Plan. What we view in this district, like many others, that special education students are first general education students with special needs that we must attend to in order for them to maximize their potential and achievement while they're with us. I really appreciate the comments of the parent that was made during open comments. I do remember that 90-minute meeting and how eye-opening that was for me as an administrator, for her to basically reflect on her daughter's journey. And I've had lots of conversations with parents and educators since I've been here, and all of those things continue to keep leaders grounded. That it's not just about numbers and percentages, it's about people, it's about lives, it's about families, and our responsiveness to them. I had the opportunity to read several historical documents that led to the development of the Special Education Improvement Plan. I read that a report that was written in 2006 indicated that approximately 17% of Ithaca City School District children were classified and receiving special education services. They varied in some schools from 10% to other schools with high free reduced lunch populations to approximately 24%. I'm pleased to announce that we've come a long way since those numbers. I'm reminded over and over again, and I have to remind myself as well as external reminders, that although progress has been made, that's not something that we're going to rest on as if there's not more important work to do. In the words of our consultant on cultural responsiveness, he calls it, we're on the journey. As long as you're moving forward, that's good. But taking baby steps sometimes is not enough, because there are human lives and souls that are dependent upon us for attention as soon as possible and getting where we need to be. I'm pleased to work in a district that not only provides enormous resources and not only has a community with advocacy, is our constant thinking about students of all different types of needs, whether that be free and reduced lunch populations. We see disproportionality with students of color, achievement with special education students, and this is something that's always in the forefront of how we evaluate ourselves and our responsiveness to that. Approximately 10% of our resources that we spend on special education students comes from a federal grant. The rest of those funds, if not more, come from general education, and we continue to support all students to make sure they reach their potential. With the Special Ed Improvement Plan, there are 10 strategies that were developed in the plan under leadership, curriculum instruction, and school structures. There are many people here tonight that are here to support and listen to the plan, but also can provide maybe more specific answers if you have questions closer to the end. So just let me know when you have specific people lined up to call on about that. Within your Dropbox, I see some of you have your iPads, and if not, that's okay. There's several supporting documents that are going to go with some details with the plan. In the appendix, there's several examples of things such as the CSE referral document, all of the indicators that we use to determine whether or not a child has a learning disability. Those tend to be the muddy areas, unlike autism or unlike severe cognitive issues, where disproportionality comes into play and the RTI process comes into play even more. As we go throughout the plan and as I've talked with colleagues, our vision and mission came up over and over again: engage, empower, and educate, because it was very affirming through preparation for tonight that not only are these words on paper, it's reflective in our practices of how we go about solving problems, how we go about getting buy-in to address certain things. Okay, so we're going to start with leadership structures, and I think it's appropriate for Dr. Brown to talk about this. And good to great is first who, then what, and so how an organization is structured and the people that are in it are foundational to its success.
Yeah, about 2.5 years ago, we wanted to create an organizational structure that was going to meet the needs of our learners. And when thinking about that, we organized. We wanted to have more central office administrators who were going to be much more supportive to building-based issues. So we moved towards the chief elementary and secondary officer, and we wanted to have PD and special ed connected under a particular office as well. So we've talked much about the organizational structure, and that was one of the first strategies we worked on as an organization that we wanted to continue to improve what we do for young people. And here's an example of an org chart. I mean, it's not the org chart, but it was what we used that first meeting when we described the model we were moving towards. And this is it. And as I said that day, I wish we didn't have to have a superintendent, but that's the one position that the state mandates we must have at a central level. But other than that, we have a team that's working very collaboratively together, and any one of the team members that are represented here could be here leading this and facilitating this conversation.
The next leadership strategy is about recruiting and hiring educators. First who, then what is something we take very seriously, and making very good decisions about making sure that there's alignment and value system. The teachers in our classroom, as well as administrators in buildings. And since the development of the plan, bless you, there's been more attention to that hiring process and making sure that we're asking the right questions during the interview to make sure we have the right minds around the table. Currently, we always invite a PTA representative, a SEPTA, which is a special education PTA representative, and there are specific questions related to diverse learners and special education students posed to all candidates when they choose to interview for a position within the district. Okay. The next group is about curriculum and instruction. Briefly, I'm just going to ask my colleagues, Jason Trumbull and Matt Landau, if they'll just speak to that briefly. We recognize that this is a very large plan, but we did want to address at least briefly all of the strategies, and this one is related to our district's efforts towards providing great curriculum and good instruction for our students and teachers.
Elementary first.
So we've talked at different meetings over the last year and a half about the elementary literacy framework that was developed 3 years ago and has been used by teachers at the elementary level for the past 2 school years. We don't have the literacy framework is a 30-40 page document. We have a math, kind of more of a guiding document that is less in depth than the literacy one, but it is something that a group of teachers and our master educators are working on developing further. That being said, during teacher release days, one of the ways we're supporting this work, last year we had 5 elementary release days for every single elementary teacher by grade level. This year we have 3. The work that they focus on is still this literacy framework and the math framework as well. One of the things that we're currently doing to provide a more cohesive and coherent curriculum for students is that we started last summer, and we have about 80 elementary level teachers. They took a week in the summer, and they've taken 3 release days this school year by grade level, and they're looking at Common Core standards, the next generation science standards, the social studies state standards, and they're looking for ways to make things more interdisciplinary. They're looking for ways to bring in some really exciting resources to what we do, and they're also looking for ways to make things more consistent across all of our elementary buildings. So this is something that this group of teachers, it's a very open group. We decided to make it as large as possible, and when teachers want to join, whenever it is in the process, they can. This summer we'll be looking to refine this, and we'll be looking to make it ready to pilot aspects of it during next school year. We see that as a several-year rollout. And we'll be providing a more formal update on this once we meet with the curriculum committee of the school board in a month or 2. But we look for teachers to pilot this next year and the year after. But our hope is, and what we're working towards, is that while we do not want to take away from individual exciting projects that a school may take on or an individual teacher, we do want all ICSD students from the pre-K to 5 level to have a really common, consistent, coherent experience across all the subject areas.
At the secondary level, we're in year 1 of true collaboration between our 3 middle school buildings leading up to preparations for the high school at both LACS and Ithaca High School. We're doing that in a number of fashion. We spent 4 days this summer working with folks from expeditionary learning and really rolling out the Common Core modules across literacy standards. Lee Ginenthal is here. He's done the lion's share of the work in regards to our ELA rollout, particularly at the middle school, and having 3 schools work together to really take a look at what it looks like across the 6th grade, across those 3 schools, what it looks like to differentiate that instruction, what ultimately it's going to look like in terms of exit outcomes for 6th graders, 7th graders, and then ultimately a conversation with our high school staff that works intently in PLCs to establish commonality across the grade levels and clear expectations. Mathematics is following a very similar formula under the work of Carlin Gray, one of our master educators, to make sure that there is alignment across the district secondarily in our math offerings, and that students are appropriately ready for mathematics instruction at the high school. So working a lot, we've talked at this level quite a bit about those commonalities and common experiences for our students and common approaches to help all students be successful.
Thank you. As we go over the next several strategies, there'll be several things that you'll hear over and over again in terms of our approach in solving problems. We're a collaborative district. That whole engage piece is something that we take very seriously. Empower we take very seriously. We believe in order to effectively solve any problems, there must be buy-in, and we must believe collectively as a school team or as a district that this is the way to go and that they've had some say in finding that out and given the flexibility to tinker and experiment when possible. Some of the challenges as we approach the strategies are in the data collection piece. So as we attend to each one of them, we'll highlight some areas that we think we've done very well in, but a common theme that you'll find over and over again throughout the strategies is our ability to collect the data that we need in order to make good decisions decisions. I think that we're definitely moving forward with our evaluation officer. We're definitely becoming more data-minded district, but we still have a ways to go. Also finding a balance, similar to what Jason said, in making good decisions as a district, using data, but also having enough flexibility and some autonomy within school buildings dependent upon their teachers, their school culture, their belief system, how they're staffed, and solving these problems in different ways. With this strategy, number 2, it talks about educational benefit of special education students. The Individualized Education Plan, IEP, is the core of their program, and one of the things that led to the development of the plan was sometimes there was misalignment between student skills, their needs, and goals that were written for them. Sometimes we were very good at identifying student needs, but oftentimes the goals were not measurable, and there was not a way of spot checking to see whether or not we've made it. All of our special education chairs, special education teachers, and many of our related service providers have attended educational benefit training offered through BOCEs in the last few years. They use their PLC time district-wide as well as their school-wide PLC teams and Java-like groups, oftentimes to dissect student IEPs, check similarities and differences in terms of how they're written and whether or not they're effective in meeting student goals, to reflect on our own practice. And CSE chairs have provided a great amount of leadership in asking the right probing questions to determine, does this make a difference? Does this strategy or goal meet the needs? Is it measurable? Does it make sense? Prior to the development of the plan, there was an IEP bank, which some people felt as though was sort of a buffet of options that you could easily just click on without perhaps the amount of in-depth thinking that's necessary to make sure that the plan is effective for students. And reminded that the goals of the IEP is to help students access the curriculum, but also attending to developmentally them becoming more independent and to give them skills that they need to thrive with supports in place. Transition meetings. This can mean different things to different people. Oftentimes when you hear the word transition, it's natural in the school system to think about transition from pre-K to K, elementary to middle, and middle to high, and of course high to the community. This is something that our district has done a lot of work around, and I forgot to mention earlier, most of these things have been possible over the last couple of years because of our great leadership. Sheila McHenry is the Director of Special Education, and she's done a wonderful job in providing leadership and support to our chairs and to our staff across the district. Transition meetings are very important. Parents are anxious when students go from one grade span to the next. Special education parents are probably even more anxious